So here's my 944 Turbo. I've been lusting after one of these for 30 years, essentially. It has a Lindsey racing kit. Those that don't know, most Lindsey racing kits that you want to buy, they're about 340 to, actually I'd say about 370 to 400 at the crank. This one has the 400 at the crank, 340 at the wheels. And these 944 turbos originally came with about 217, 220 stock. And so this makes a huge difference. 0 to 60 30 years ago, these things were doing right under 6 seconds, about 5.7 to 5.9 seconds with 220. And they were able to do that because they're light. Weigh about 2,900 pounds with a 50-50 weight distribution. This was long before Chevrolet came out with the C5 and did that. I'd say with the Lindsey racing kit, with the boost turned up, you're looking at probably maybe mid 4s to low 5s now. Usually about 4.5 to 5 seconds, 0 to 60 with this turned up. So it's phenomenal, has great handling. I'm not going to track it, but that's a lot of people like to take these with. And when they screw up with the engine, which we'll get to in a little bit, they drop LS1s and LS3 engines in here. And 345 for an LS1 that's stock, and about 425 for the LS3, which is the Z06 from like 2001 to 2004. And they fit right in, essentially. But back to this. These things are fairly reliable, surprisingly enough. Especially, you know, if you can afford the basic maintenance, they're going to run forever, hence why it's 30 years old, and I still have it. And it was made in October of 1986, this exact car that I have. They essentially, you have to do the timing belt every 30 to 40,000 miles. It has an interference engine, so if you don't do the timing belt, then you will snap the belt, wreck the engine, and it's over. Hence why people would move over to the LS engines after they do that, because they're idiots. But getting back to this, do the time belt every 30, 40,000 miles. Water pump, thermostat go hand in hand with it. Then occasionally in between those intervals, you're going to go ahead and adjust the balance shaft belts and tension belts and pulleys, and they just keep running. Clutch is a clutch, like any performance car. Brake, suspension, but if you're not driving this out at the track, your clutch, your brake, your suspension should be fine, and now you just got to do the basic belt work and make sure that you change the water pump and just keep it going. And for a 30-year-old car that hasn't been resto modded, this is in very good shape. I'm gonna actually, I already have it on order. I'm taking out the dash and replacing it. I'm replacing the gear shift knob with another shifter. It's one of these ones that's illuminated, and it looks kind of like an E46 BMW M3 gear shift knob, plus it's illuminated. Putting in my turbo floor mats, and can't see it now, but I'm replacing the carpeting for the trunk mat in the trunk. The seats are in great shape, the armrest is great shape, the door skins are in great shape. Everything works electrically on it. I took out the sunroof because you actually can use it as a Target, so I love the Target feel of it. And the last piece I have to replace is this right here. It is the last portion of the headliner. You can see a little bit better from the back. Let me open the hatch. Those get wear and tear over the years, and it's like $100, $200 piece to get replaced. And so I've got that on order. I'll be replacing and swapping that out in the next week or two, along with the carpeting for the mat. And if you see, that's the back little piece, and I've got that on order to replace. But cosmetically, you know, it's rock solid cosmetically. Performance wise, it's rock solid. I'll actually go and crank it up. And then here you see my C7 here in the background as well. I had a C5 previously. It was a 98, had a cammed head, headers, all this stuff, and sold it, moved on, had my fun. This thing's incredible, but at the same time, I have an appreciation for 30-year-old vintage 944 Turbo, with an aftermarket Lindsey racing kit on it. So let me turn this off first. It's just probably can hear that in the background. So as you see, I have a sports car obsession. I had a C5, as I mentioned. I've had a Boxster S. It was 250 horsepower. It was a 2000. It handled really well, but it just lacked the power of my C5, obviously, that I had worked up. My other, I guess my probably 3 favorite sports cars are 4. These 2 are my 2 favorites. One, because this, like I said, this was on my wall when I was a kid, and its performance, power to weight ratio is incredible, and its handling is incredible. I can even throw somebody who's really small, like my nephews, in the back seat. Then obviously the C7. My next 2 favorite are my C5. I have a video of it, and then my E46 M3, and I also have a video of that. So if you go click on there, you can see my other 2 videos. And then my daily driver is this 2001 4Runner, and it has a little extra stuff on there with the light bar assembly and the fog lights. Another light bar built into the bumper, and I've got some stereo equipment done. And but these things are rock solid. It's got 202,000 miles. It's 15 years old. I drove to DC and back. I drive this cross country. Wouldn't even hesitate to do this. I also had at one time a 97 Land Cruiser. Had the Lexus version of the Land Cruiser. Thing was rock solid as well. So pretty much those are my beaters, my daily drivers I love to have. And like I said, I've done the vets. I've done the 2 Porsches and the 2 vets and the M3. Those are my 4 favorites. Anyway, back to it. People also ask me, how the hell do you have all these cars and how do you afford it? One, I have a normal corporate day job. I sell software, but you build capital and wealth by doing real estate investments and either keeping a steady stream of rentals or doing flips. So I have a steady stream of rentals that pay my overhead each month, my cost of living, and I take my day job money and I actually use that to invest in buying property. And then either I rent them out, rehab them, rent them out, or I flip them. And that's how I got to the C7, was I took a property and just, I didn't even have to even do any renovation to it. I just flipped it. Kept the tenant in there for a couple months, kicked him out, didn't do any rehab, flipped the property, made the property, what I got off that sale, I was able to pay for the C7 straight cash. Or as Randy Moss says, straight cash, homie. So that's my tip on how do you build wealth and how do you make money. There are multiple different ways, but entrepreneurship right now, if looking at real estate, you buy a property for a low price, you do some rehab work on it, and you go rent it out, you can do an ROI monthly of usually 20 to 30%. And there's really nowhere else where you can put your money and make 20-30% each month. I mean, just outside of probably doing some rentals in real estate legally, I'll say. Anyway, back to the 944. As you hear, the doors are nice and tight. The lights are on, and it's just, see if I can put the camera back at the exhaust real quick. So anyway, that's my 944 walk around, but I figured it was time to do a video for one of these. Thanks again. Be safe out there, whether you're on 2 wheels or 4 wheels. Bye-bye.